Hiya, and welcome back to Password, the game that teaches us that Oswin is willing to give Roswell the Bart Simpson treatment over cereal. Just read general chat in the Discord server lug, and you will understand what's going on. And can you two please stop talking about porn? Anyways, let's just hop right in. Okay, are we going to trust Jack or doubt Jack? Okay, seriously. Calm the fuck down. Yeah. Okay. If you two are going to fight again, do so in Warzone, please. Yeah, let's stop talking about that. Alright, I'm gonna doubt you, Jack. Fuck you. Shaking my head, my gut was telling me that there was something off about what he had said. Maybe it was the directions he'd given me, or maybe what he was intending. Where had he even gone to anyway? His hidey hole? I wasn't willing to just follow him blindly. Worst case scenario, I could find my way back to the river and wander back down to the campsite. Or take shelter in the mill and make my way back in the morning. For all I knew, Jack was up to something. I didn't know what it was or if it involved me, but I didn't trust him, including the directions back to the house. So I picked a direction and started walking, assuming I could just double back if I didn't run into anything. The immediate area around the mill seemed the same as the rest of the woods. I hit a cliff wall that seemed to continue on for a while. I didn't bother following the river any further upstream when I found another waterfall. I don't know why I expected to run into Jack out here or find out where he went, but it was something I wish I knew. There was meant to be a shack out here, right? Was that his hidey hole, or was the shack just what the mill was meant to be? I really was in the middle of nowhere. Alone. Thought about my friends back at the house, and if I'd be lost out here much like Roswell was. It was a mistake to come out here by myself. Tried smelling the air to see if I could pick out anything, but the dust from the mill was still clogging my nose. All I could smell was that musty old smell from underground instead of the fresh mountain air. As I rubbed my nose, I caught the sound of Jack somewhere far off. He seemed to be talking with someone, but I couldn't make out the specifics. I couldn't even make out which direction he was from, given how his voice echoed off the trees. Sure! The more I focused on listening, the more I could make out some words here and there, but I couldn't hear anything else. Some hyena, yeah, dunno. We're not out here for... Maybe he was on the phone? Went to check my pockets for my own and realized I must have left it back at the house. Letting the others know where I was would have been helpful had I remembered it. At the very least, Dean would have been able to find me, right? Maybe Roswell if he remembered the way to the campsite. Even then, I was assuming a lot, thinking that Roswell even used that particular campsite when there could have been many others scattered about the place. Hiya. You're killing me, you know that? Jack's voice got closer and he seemed to be on the move. I didn't want to be caught unintentionally eavesdropping, so I doubled back to the mill and continued my way downstream. What little light I had to work with was fading quickly. I remember Dean saying that there was no point heading out into the woods at night just in case we injured ourselves. I wondered if maybe it was best I tried to make myself comfortable for the night, as much as I already started to feel the temperature start to drop. The thought of being out here made my stomach grumble, reminding me that I hadn't eaten for the better part of 2 days. Or at least not enough for it to be substantial. My legs were sore from walking so much and I sat down, wondering how Haas could be so fit. Was it conditioning? He seemed to like walking most places or even going for a run. I'd match up with what I knew of Sal as well, being used to lifting and carrying things from what I'd heard from Orlando. Sitting down on the log, I buried my face in my hands, sighing out. I'd made a mistake coming out here, but at least now I'd remember not to do something so stupid again in the future. Yes, he's old, but sure, he's around. Jack didn't seem to like that answer. His jaw clenched and he stared down at me with his voice low. Well, that's just great, isn't it? Here, I was hoping this was going to be an easy job, too. Oh, well, I don't mind a messy job when the pay is good. Whole chase sequence. I collapsed to the ground, clutching my chest. Had I been shot? Had Jack? What had happened? Dave! Looking up, I could see Dean skid to a halt in front of me, dropping to his knees and holding me by the shoulders. I wanted to tell him what had just happened, what I'd seen. and how I was feeling, but nothing came out of my mouth except a raspy breath and the onset of nausea. God, you're pale! Were you out in the forest all day? What happened? Dean, did... I looked to Orlando, eased back onto my knees by Dean. Everyone, Dean found him! He was quick to leave again, rushing off somewhere out of sight. Clinging to Dean, I whined and gasped for air, my heart pounding in my chest. Trying to keep myself centered on Dean's honey-like scent, I struggled to calm myself down. It's Dave. Yes, I can see that. Who? I heard a gunshot, and... We can discuss this later. Get the boy inside. Dean picked me up and I clung to him, digging into the muscle under the fur as if letting go was the same as dying then and there. Where is that fucking rabbit? I could tell it was Oswin, although his tone was different, crazy almost, and I could make out what seemed to be a revolver in his hand before he shoved it back into his pocket. Damn it all! Sir, now is not the time to be gallivanting around on a crusade over rabbits. Oswin grunted, standing stiff. I wanted to tell him what happened, to apologize for not taking his warning seriously, or at least what I assumed to be one.
At least Dave is accounted for now, but...
He's suffering. The sound I made was a mix between a whine and a rasping cough. The tightening in my chest became worse.
Then do something about it! You're a doctor, right?
Again, I tried to speak as Oswin stepped closer, looking me in the eye. Set him down, Dean. As if afraid of breaking me, he set me down on the stairs, sitting me against him for additional support. It's alright, Dave. You're safe now.
You had us all worried.
Help. Took everything I had to get the word out, and I tried to stand, slipping on the stair below me and falling onto the cold tiles of the foyer floor. In a flash, Dean was by my side as I heard the others rushing closer. We were in danger. They were all in danger, and it was my fault. I couldn't breathe, my vision was blurring, and I was starting to lose my ability to hear. I've got an idea. As a Tyson-shaped blur rushed past up the stairs until I could no longer discern his scent among the others. Dean seemed to know what his plan was and hurried along after him soon after. Dave, listen to me. I need you to tell me where the rabbit went.
You can't be serious! That's the priority for you right now?
Roswell went ignored and Oswin stopped next to me, shifting me so we could make eye contact easier. It's very important. Where did he go? Took everything I had just to shake my head. The smell of gunpowder was strong on Oswin, and it was bringing memories to the surface that I couldn't fight off. Should we get him somewhere? Maybe we should at least pick him off the floor. Dave, try to relax. I'll put you in your bed, and when you're ready, you can tell us what happened. As Sal came down to pick me up, I pushed him away. I could do it. I had to. Dave, please. Sal, stand back. What are you going to? In a flash, Oswin pulled something from his coat and thrust it against my neck. Sound of air escaping, indicating something had happened. What did you do? Something I was saving for that rabbit, but this should do to put Dave at ease. Whatever they said next, I didn't catch. Said passing out there on the floor. Started with my vision, then my body went numb. And then last to go was my hearing, with the last voice I heard was Benson saying something. In a way, I was relieved now that everything had stopped. Was I dead? Was I asleep? Either way, all I could do was let whatever happens happen. That's something. Day 14. Path A. Roswell kept his eyes averted as he closed the door, as far as resting his head on it before talking to me.
Thank God you're alive.
He sighed, turning to me and making his way over.
I kinda hoped you'd still be sleeping because, well, it's gonna be hard to ask.
I shifted over so he could sit down in the bed. But even then, he didn't take up that much room.
How are you holding up? Did,
Roswell scratched his head, fidgeting with his hands as he tried to figure out what to say.
I suppose I should start with, you're safe, I guess. Not that we found that rabbit.
The tightening in my chest made itself known as the panic came back.
No, Dave, it's alright. Benson's been on the warpath trying to find him, and we've seen hide nor... well, that's what he's told Oswin anyway.
I felt sick and I doubled over in bed. That's when I realized that I wasn't wearing my hoodie, and I patted myself down looking for what I'd found in the woods.
When you blacked out, well, we couldn't leave you in the foyer. That's when something fell out of your pocket and Hoth snatched it up. Dean and Tyson put you in bed after. Seemed to have a long discussion about what had happened among themselves over it, too.
What had happened, part of it lingered fresh in my mind from my dream, made me quake and whine while I sat there.
Dave, what's been happening with you? I only ask because, well, the moment people realize you're awake, we all have questions for you. Like, where did you go? Why? Who was that?
I wheezed, grip tightening on my chest.
Sorry, I'm just worried. What if my best friend had died? What if Oswin had overdosed you with, well, sure, it's only sodium amytal, but he also said that it has some hypnotic properties. Look, did you want me to go? I can just pretend that you're still asleep, but someone's going to get you out of bed at some point.
He got up, shooting me a smile so fleeting it may as well have never happened.
I'm glad you're alive, Dave. Hopefully you'll feel better soon.
Roswell got up off the bed and wandered over to the door, closing it behind him. I could hear him talking to someone just on the other side of the door before continuing on his way. I lay back down, sighing out. I was happy that I was alive, or at least I assumed so. Maybe I was just thankful that I was alone again. Turning over, I cuddled my pillow and tried not to think of anything, but it was always the same thought process, wondering what if and if I really should have survived. It'd been twice I'd considered dying then and there. So now that my life was directly threatened, I knew I didn't want to die. I sighed, quivering in bed. It wasn't because I knew better. Yeah. Everyone was there, although it seemed Oswin was lingering near the back, looking thoughtful about something. My friends each wore a look of worry as I looked to each of them in turn. Oswin marched his way down the length of the room the moment Haas had finished talking. He moved with purpose, swiping up both and turning it over in his hand. What in the world? How did you get this? I went to explain but couldn't find the words. It was easy to say that I just found them in the woods, but the words just didn't come. Bats! Fine, I'll go run a test on this file to see if what's on the label matches up. Benson, if you would give me a hand. I feel like this talk is one best with the head without us present. Very well, sir. Take as long as you need with your talk. The two of them left, taking with them what I'd found in the woods away, not before everyone had had a good chance to see exactly what Haas had presented. Please tell me that wasn't what fell out of Dave's pocket. Yeah. So sad. My fucking heart. Thankfully, with Oswin around, that'd make things a little easier. I barely understood it when he told me, but hearing it directly from him should help. Yeah, there's just going to be a lot of skipping now. Well, that's a plus. Oswin's been scarce since he took the syringe away. Otherwise, I'd be asking him if it was actually, well, what it said on the label. He didn't come back. Vincent did, but said that Oswin had stuff he wanted to think over. Maybe the test didn't go so great, or maybe he's just wanting to hear it from you directly. If it wasn't so late, I'd probably go talk to him now, because I'd like to know too. So you really didn't, you know. I shook my head and he nodded in understanding. Reaching out, he patted my shoulder, leaving his hand there for a bit. Good. I mean, we still don't really know what happened, but please don't hide the serious stuff anymore. It just makes us worry about you more. Okay, but Haas, tomorrow is going to be a little hard. Hard? How? Just something Oswin told me a while back. Something that probably led to everything being a mess. With the vault? Something like that, yeah. Just don't go breaking again trying to tell us. If Oswin knows about it already, just make sure he's in the room too, alright? I nodded slowly, having had that same idea as my plan. Not that it was much of one, but having some backup when I had to bring up the task he had set for me seemed like the right call. As I hit the stairs, I ran into Oswin just about to head down himself. Morning. Yeah, good morning. We descended the stairs in silence, and once we reached the bottom, I fumbled for what I wanted to say. Are you upset with me? He froze in his tracks, turning slowly to face me. Should I be? Well, the needle and the bottle. I have questions, to say the least, but now's not the time for that. Then later? Of course later. You have enough on your plate as it is, although I will say I expect answers. Right, yeah, that makes sense. But I have some questions too about, well, that. What kinds of questions? You said we're not getting into it now, but just be ready for me to ask some questions too. Very well. When the time comes, I'll be sure to collect you for a little chat. Together we made our way into the dining room, splitting off as I sat down with the others already at the table. Good morning. Turned to Sal, Roswell, and Haas, all seemingly unsure of how to answer. Roswell nudged both Haas and Sal before shooting me a quick smile.
Morning, Dave. Sleep all right?
Yeah, That's good. Right? Did you need to sleep more? You could go back to bed if you wanted. Right, especially with yesterday being so... He gestured with his hands, filling in the rest of his sentence. I think I'm good for now, at least. Just need to wake up some more and have something to eat. You name it and I'll make it, honest. Maybe just give him some spice, Orlando. He's right. He can speak for himself. Just trying to be thoughtful. It's okay, really. I don't know. Sighing out, I shook my head. Don't worry, I've got this. Sit tight, Dave. No, Ty, it's okay. What I really want to say is... sorry. You have nothing to apologize for. Well, to be fair, he kinda does, but that's for later. I'm sorry for making everyone worry and that well... There was silence all around when I trailed off. Honestly, same! Honestly, same, Amethyst. Honestly, same. There was silence all around when I trailed off. Breathing in deep, I resolved myself to admitting what I was sorry for without a prompt from someone else. I'm sorry I've been a shitty friend. We're just glad you're alive. With all things considered about what happened, well... Alright, maybe let's not do this over breakfast. He hasn't even had coffee yet. Despite me saying that I was able to manage, Ty got up and wandered off towards the kitchen, presumably to get me something to drink. Oh, right, breakfast. Hang tight, Dave, I'll go make you something. Before I could get a word in edgewise, he was hot on Tyson's heels and disappeared into the kitchen much the same. Do I think you're crazy? I wouldn't say crazy. I would not say crazy. What I would say, however, is that depending on the situation, you can be extremely intense, which, again, depending on the situation, may or may not be a good thing. It entirely depends on the situation, but no, I would not say crazy. Before I could get a word in edgewise, he was hot on Tyson's heels and disappeared into the kitchen much the same. Is it alright if we just take today slowly?
Well, yeah, of course. I didn't have any plans after yesterday.
Most of us were just waiting for me. Didn't seem right to go planning anything after you passed out. After we made sure you were comfortable in bed, we just sort of sat around sharing stories. Mostly any nice memory you had of you, just to try and lift the mood a little.
Benson's been on near constant lookout for that, who he saw in the woods.
I nodded slowly, the image of Jack flashing through my head. Yes, you can be intense. Run, as fast as you can! Hiya. My hands went to my head and I cowered in my chair. I could hear his voice echoing through my head like I was back out in the woods. No, I'm safe! I shut my eyes tighter, trying to block him out, but he was there. I flinched when I felt something touch my shoulder. Fearing I was backed up against the tree again with his knife at my throat. Just give up, Dave! Let whatever happens, happen! Dave! I was trembling on my back on the floor with Tyson over me, holding me steady. I was breathing hard, still reeling from the thoughts of Jack, and my eyes were damp. Ty! I sat up and clung to him, heart beating rapidly in my chest, just as tightly he held on to me as he guided me back to my feet and eased me back down into a chair, so he could pick up the one that had fallen out of. Alright, who was it?
Well, me, but...
Snarling, Ty advanced on Roswell, but was caught by the scruff. That's enough! You didn't mean it, Tyson. Shrugging Sal off him, Ty grumbled as he threw his hands up. Fine. But give him a chance to recover first.
Sorry, I didn't realize it'd provoke a reaction like that so easily.
He's not around, is he? There was silence again, broken only by the sound of Orlando setting something down on the table. Broken out of my trance, the smell hit me immediately, causing me to rise at the sweet scent. Butter? Cinnamon? Maple syrup? First I thought waffles before I took in another breath through my nose. French toast? Yeah, I know you like eggs, though. Must have pounced on it a little too eagerly, almost inhaling it and barely savoring the rich goodness as it coated my tongue. Slow down or you're gonna choke. Second piece was midway to my mouth before I paused, looking around at the others. Sorry. I guess I'm just hungry.
I'm gonna go make some more then. Anyone else want any?
Couple hands went up and Ty shook his head. Sorry. This sound is stuck in my head. You know, whenever Dave literally inhales the fucking French toast. Okay, hear me out. I must have pounced on it a little too eagerly, almost inhaling it and... Hang on. I must have pounced on it a little too eagerly, almost inhaling it and barely savoring the rich goodness as it coated my tongue. Just that. Kirby Yeen. Give whatever I'd have to Dave.
Alright, Thor. I'll be back again. I'll go make myself useful. Be back soon.
The two of them wandered off towards the kitchen, and I resumed shoveling food into my mouth. I had a question. For who? For Dave. Sure, what's the question? What would you like to do today? Well, I thought about it, brow furrowed. The options the mansion gave us seemed to be a fair bit, but then again, the thought of going outside was sending shivers down my spine. The only thing I had in mind, really, was talking to Oswin. He had questions for me, and I had some for him as well. I wanted to know more about what I'd found, plus where I went and what it all meant. This was his home, so he's bound to know more about what was surrounding it, right? I haven't really thought about it. Just something later with Oswin, really. I see. Well, perhaps it would be best to take it easy. Just take it easy today. Rest days are important. Plenty doing sad anyway. Maybe we could have another movie night as a group. Ty must have noticed I was frowning before I'd realized I was doing it, poking me suddenly. Stop frowning. I'm not frowning. I was just thinking. Right, well, how's a movie day sound? Maybe. In reality, I didn't really want to be around a bunch of people. I still felt ashamed for the past few days and wanted some time to think about what was to happen next. Was I still broken? I felt better and worse at the same time, and I didn't know how to really know if that was normal. I think I'm gonna go see if I can help with breakfast too, just while I make my mind up. Oh my god, I forgot about all that. I scurried away, dipping into the kitchen and closing the door quickly behind me.
Well, look who's here to visit.
I looked over to Roswell, who was mixing something together in a bowl while Orlando wandered closer with a loaf of bread tucked under his arm. My god. I'm gonna go off topic, but I always go off topic. SpongeBob? It's like, if it's on, then I won't turn it off. I'll just sit there and watch it. My brother is way more into SpongeBob than I am. Fucker has a SpongeBob painting at his place. Literally, like... Fucking SpongeBob. Early seasons were goated. I'll say that. Early seasons were amazing. Later seasons, I don't really know. Turn into fucking Teen Titans Go or some shit, I don't know. I looked over to Raw. Oh, yeah. Couldn't wait for more. Not that, I guess just curious to know what was happening in here, maybe? Glancing back at the door I just come through, Orlando gently guided my chin forward so I was looking at him again. You throw that tall. I know a hungry face when I see it.
No surprise either, given how he just devoured that first lot of toast you gave him.
Oh, yeah, are you really that hungry that you couldn't wait for me to bring it out to you? No, it's not that, just... I found myself fiddling with my hands, unsure of what to say. Honestly? Respect. Mad respect. Found myself fiddling with my hands, unsure of what to say.
You wanted to thank him. You did kind of dive on that toast before anyone could really say anything, and you were just out of it afterwards.
Dave just likes my cooking.
Everyone likes your cooking. Speaking of, I finished mixing the stuff. Oh, great. Hang right, Dave. Breakfast is on its way.
Eventually, we all settled in for more French toast, and I finally got myself some coffee. Something about it tasted different. Not bad, but different. Maybe different was just a new feeling I was going to have to get used to. Everyone seemed intent on focusing on eating, except for Tyson, who slid his plate over to me. Didn't even seem to look at me as he did, instead fiddling with his phone while he drank his coffee. With my belly full, I yawned. There was nothing like a good meal, and breakfast was a good reminder of it. Ha, eepy-yeen. Sleepy-yeen. Standing there in the foyer, I'd stretched out after Orlando had offered to take my plate for me, and I looked around. Our entrance hall was quite big, to the point it almost seemed wasteful of the space. But the house I lived in was fairly open as well, so maybe it was just something I wasn't used to. Wandering over to the back door, I felt my fur tingle the closer I got. My eyes were locked on the world on the other side of the door, and I couldn't bring myself to cross the last few steps to reach the handle. I found myself standing there fiddling with my hands and my tail tucked between my legs. Not that I wanted to go outside anyway, but there was that fear that Jack was just waiting out of sight in the trees.
What are you doing?
The sound I made was a high-pitched shriek, although a lot of the sound itself petered out into a startled whine as I tried to catch my breath. Please, don't do that again. Please.
Sorry, I wasn't thinking.
I nodded slowly, sighing out as I clutched my chest. It's fine, I'll be okay, just don't sneak up on me like that again.
Easily done, but what were you doing anyway?
Just thinking things over, realizing that I'm terrified about potentially going outside, you know? He placed his hands on my shoulder and looked me over. In turn, I flashed him a fleeting smile, but all he did was grimace back.
Outside sucks anyway, we can have more fun inside.
Yeah, about that.
Did something happen?
Looking around the foyer, I sighed up quietly before turning back to Orlando. Can we talk somewhere private for a bit? I would have said we could cuddle up with a video game, but I think a few of the guys are already using the space to watch a movie. I'd be fine with anywhere, really. Just somewhere we can talk without worrying about others interrupting us. Alright, I think I know just the place. Yeah, we can skip. I looked across to Oswin, who along with Benson, ate with the rest of us. He was watching me quietly, almost waiting for me to make the first move. I'd gotten through half of my own meal before stopping, instead playing with what remained with my spoon. Hey, everyone? The moment I spoke, Oswin nodded slowly, setting his cutlery aside and mumbling something to Benson. The otter nodded back and headed into the kitchen, and out of sight to do whatever it was that was asked of him.
What's the matter, Dave?
Are you not hungry? Does it taste bad? I could make you something else if you want. No, it's not that, just... I need to tell you all about something.
Is it about, you know...
No. All eyes turned to Oswin as he answered for me a moment after Orlando asked. It's something that led to everything that transpired a couple days ago. A cascade of issues that ultimately start with my intervention of something that I fear may yet come to pass.
Well, that sounds ominous. If incredibly troubling given what happened to Dave.
I made myself smaller in my chair and let Oswin lead the conversation. He made the offer, and if it saved me the task of explaining something I barely understood, I was going to let him.
Wait, so the reason Dave went into the woods was because of you?
In essence, yes, although that's radically overestimating my direct role in the things.
You were the one that said that this was your fault, you know?
I'm aware. I looked to Orlando, who seemed to quickly put something together, and his scales paled just enough to be noticeable. Don't tell me that thing that you stopped from happening. Before you go assuming the worst, I'll tell you now that the details specifically around what I stopped happening are unknown to me.
But you just said...
Specifically. You said specifically. Then you know some of the details. I do, yes. Oswin looked to me and I looked at him back. There was a moment where I thought he was going to continue taking charge in the conversation, but it faded the longer he remained silent. The longer he didn't elaborate, the more my friends turned to me as that's where he was looking. I breathed in and spoke quietly, my voice quivering as I struggled to put it into words. Marked for death. Closing my eyes, I heard the phrase echoing around in my head. I couldn't place why or how it seemed to be echoing around me, but it was, reminding me of things I'd seen so far. Orlando, dead right outside of the vault. Sentence. Benson, shot in the dining room. Betrayal. Dean or something was going on. Sal had an axe and he was covered in blood. When I opened my eyes, I was breathing hard. But then, who could... Dave, you doing alright? Huh? What? How long did I zone out for? You zoned out? I looked to Oswin, who seemed amused by something, but I shook my head. Okay, everyone knows I've been messing with the vault, right?
Right?
Well, after the first time, Oswin contacted me through a radio thing, right? Close enough, yes. But why? Oswin said that one of us was going to die, right?
He said what?
Eyes were on Oswin again, and he seemed completely unaffected by the looks he was getting. Dave speaks the truth, although he's not completely on the mark. Specifically, I told him that any number of you are at risk, not just one of you. The fuck? From what? Or who? Oswin shrugged. You better start talking. I am. More importantly, I'm relaying what information I do know. Anything else, well... You're lying. Pardon? You do know more, but for whatever reason, you're just not saying it. You're right, in that I know many things. Things that are, quite frankly, none of your business. Can't expect to just drop that bombshell and have them be alright with it, Oswin. My concern is not what my approval rating is, but to relay what the truth of the matter is. Which, I'll remind you, is that your lives are in danger. Fuck it, we'll just leave then. No! We can't! What? What? Why the fuck not? I explained to Dave at the time, and that leaving would only ensure the death of one of you. Not by my hand, mind you. I gave him the choice, and he decided to stay. And the phone reception being cut? Who can say? Not my doing in any case. So what, we just have to bite that? Fuck you! Dave almost died! I'm aware of that, but he didn't. Large in part to Benson. And no help from you, I'll add. And who do you think asked Benson to keep an eye out? But why me? If Dave and Namath danger? You tell me, Mr. Noble. Well, I don't want him in danger. I've been doing everything I can to try and keep him safe. Could you say the same about your father? What's he got to do with Dave's safety? I can't say I like him very much. Acquainted already, are we, Sal? We've met, but why Dave? Dave is more collateral damage waiting to happen. What Orlando's father is actually after would be the vault downstairs. I looked to Orlando with a frown. If I didn't already know that his family was the polar opposite to mine, I'd have been a little more confused. That said, I was confused enough with what exactly he wanted with the vault. Wait, was that what he meant? What he was after? You're going to need to be more specific than that, Dave. The guy who, he was interested in the vault but thought it was a time machine? I saw Oswin's nostrils flare at the mention of a time machine and he grunted annoyance. It's not a time machine, but it being described that way makes it abundantly clear who sent that rabbit. What exactly is the vault? It's a bit beyond me, but it shows you how you die, right? Not exactly. For the most part, exactly how and why it works isn't important right now. The only important part is that Dave can use it, as can Orlando's father. Then fuck it! Give it to the guy like hell up that you put Dave in danger just because you won't! And you're going to do what exactly? I'll have you know, I'm not entirely too keen on handing over a machine like that to a crime boss. Even Tyson had to concede that giving anything to a crime syndicate wasn't a clear-cut good or bad idea.
But it's not a time machine, right? What's the harm?
You're an intelligent boy. You tell me what someone could do with a machine built around quantum mechanics and morphic resonance. I saw Orlando's hand eagerly shoot up right around the time that sly grin came up on Roswell's face.
Morphic resonance, huh?
I don't get it. Someone explain what exactly it is.
Well, it might not be a time machine, but a machine like that could give you something like psychic powers.
I found myself glancing between Roswell and Oswin while Tyson seemed to be trying to understand the explanation. Roswell...
Being able to jump between different realities, stuff like that. The good stuff.
That's not how it works! I noticed Orlando sheepishly putting his hand down while Oswin fumed. Roswell clearly pleased with himself.
No, well, it's something close to that anyway. But essentially, imagine being able to look into the future to where you might be in danger. Imagine how useful that'd be.
I suppose I'm not going to get a thoroughly explained version unless I do it myself, but Now is hardly the time. So, Orlando's dad is, they're the bad guys?
I'm not, I promise.
He's very different from his father from my interactions with him, so unless he's a very good liar, I'm fairly certain Orlando's heart is in the right place. Okay, so where does that leave us now? Orlando's family wants the vault. We can't give it to him because Dave can use it if he's in trouble. But on top of that, at least one of us is in danger.
But not only that, we can't leave because if we do, then one of us will still be in danger.
Yeah, but if we make it through to the end of the month, we're safe, right? That's right. My interest in seeing you through to the end of the month alive and well. I may not show it, but I do genuinely wish for you all to survive. Then, what happens now? We can't contact the police after what happened, otherwise I'd say we should do that. If my dad is behind this, then, well, I can't contact him either to tell him to stop. Would it be that easy?
No, I suppose it wouldn't.
In the meantime, we have Benson as a useful asset to keep us safe. I'll start shoring up what defenses I can, although they'd mostly just be keeping tabs on if the doors are locked or not. Perhaps get the security system operational again.
And what should we do?
Stay safe, obviously. Are you going to be alright for food? What about if the worst happens?
It wouldn't come to that, would it?
It may, but you don't live in isolation like this without stockpiling a little bit. As far as food stores, we should need to ration for a long while, even with the 9 of us present. There were sighs of relief all around, but we were left there unsure of where to go next. I sat back in my chair and sighed out. It was out in the open now, and I felt good that everyone seemed to have context of what I'd been going through lately.
I don't get it.
Roswell speaking caught me off guard, looking over only to see him thinking hard about something.
If Dave can use the vault, that's fine, but how he's been using it so far doesn't feel very efficient, or at least the system itself seems flawed.
How do you mean?
Think back to when we were at the vault when we came back in from the hedge maze, right?
You had your notebook and you were trying to open it, right?
That's just it. There's 2 things wrong here. The first is that there's a door there, so there has to be something inside. If so, then what? And if Orlando's dad wants it because it's a time machine, then does he not know what it looks like? Or that there's a door? Why isn't he after what's inside?
Hey now, we don't even know if what's inside is valuable, do we? Eyes went to Oswin and he seemed distracted by something, having missed the implied question. Oswin, what's inside the vault? He gave me a careful stare, one that seemed to be thinking still about whatever it was that had distracted him. I'm not at liberty to say.
Is what's inside the vault dangerous? Valuable to at least to a crime syndicate?
To someone smart enough, what's contained inside could do a great deal of harm. Or a great deal of good, depending. I don't have faith that Orlando's father would be one to do good, willing or otherwise, with whatever he found inside it. And we can't just open it and destroy what's inside either? That'd solve one problem, at least. I'd considered it, but no. Destroying it would ultimately do more harm than good. Of that, you can be sure.
Okay, right.
Roswell scratched his head before he continued.
Then there's the second thing, right?
And that would be...
If Dave could use the vault, then... what's stopping him from just grabbing a dictionary and just brute forcing options with every word listed in it? Surely find something that would work, right?
Perhaps, but think about how many words there may be. Think about how long it would take him to type each one individually. As a separate issue to that, there's been some developments on the back end that puzzle me still. Like how there are passwords at work that you didn't program in. Correct. There shouldn't be anything that slips by me as far as anyone using it, but the window of opportunity of to program something in and delete the entry after you've seen it would be near impossible.
Actually, it's literally impossible.
Excuse me?
You said it works of morphic resonance. If we're looking at this as the pseudoscientific principle instead of a work of science fiction, then anything that's coming across is not even in this timeline.
You'll do well to forget about different timelines, boy.
Fine. Different iterations of the universe, then. But this only supports my suggestion that if Dave really wanted to, he could brute force passwords.
Is that really possible? I'd do it if it would mean keeping people safe. I can't deny the possibility, but there's a problem in Roswell's reasoning.
Not as far as I can tell.
Then allow me to explain. The vault won't show your own death like Sal assumed. In fact, it's literally incapable of showing your own death.
And if we're in danger, Dave could just tell us and then use that information to keep him safe in turn, right?
Unless he's never in a position to witness those events on other timelines. The moment you create a scenario that is forced to come to pass on every further instance of the universe, you're dooming any potential alternatives you might be looking for. So I just won't go punching in the words. Easy!
But if you don't, then how are you meant to know who's in danger? You've worked at least twice so far, so...
It's a decision that Dave will need to make for himself. If anything, him not seeing anything is a good sign for the time being. Oswin went back to his meal a moment later, deciding that he was done talking, and a moment later rising from the table. Much in the same way, everyone else started eating again, although the air was filled with uncertainty. I finished up eating and took my plate into the kitchen not long after that. While the talk was nice, there was still more to come, and I was eager to get that done sooner rather than later. I headed upstairs, figuring to make a beeline for the library. What I didn't expect was Oswin to already be there. So, now's a good time to talk, right? Are you sure that's wise, all things considered? That talk from earlier is likely still sending waves through your friends. It's sending waves through me. We're only halfway through the month, and now we have 2 solid weeks of wondering if we're in danger. True enough, I suppose. You remain near the window, looking out into the garden and the forest beyond. Is something out there? No. At least nothing I can see. I was just reflecting on how this was where I saw things happen on my way back to the lab. You were here, and then you... I tried to shoot the rabbit, yes. Thinking about him made me tremble, but wandering over to the window, I could see no sign of his white fur breaking the deep black of the shadows beyond the trees. If you want to have our chat now, we can. Here or in the lab. Do we have any need of that level of privacy? The library would suffice if absolutely need be, but I don't think we do. With my brow furrowed, I tried to think, barely registering him walk past me to shut the door. Take a seat, Dave. If you don't mind, I'll be going first with my questions. You'll be free to ask as you wish when I'm done. Alright. Excellent. Now explain to me how you came to find a viral sample and syringe. Was it from your lab? Answer the question first. His stare was as intense as his tone, like a father scolding a misbehaving child. When I went out into the woods, I stopped by a river and found it nearby. And it was exactly as you returned it? As far as I know, I didn't use it if that's what you're worried about. He reached over and checked my head with his hand. No fever? Good. His hand lingered, though, and just looking at him told me his attention was elsewhere, staring off somewhere far away. Oswin? Oh yes, very good. I wouldn't think you'd have any reason to inject yourself with what was in that bottle anyway. What was in the bottle anyway? I still have questions. Wait your turn. Fine. What's next then? Did you see anyone else out there, or just who you ran into? Just him. And you're sure no one else? Positive. He scratched his chin, sighing out. I'd hazard to think there might be others, but it's hard to say. Who we're dealing with isn't exactly bright. Sure, that's a good idea to make fun of someone like that? I've said it to his face, and I'd say it again. He only cares about his money and guns. Just a much larger child, really. Spoiled rotten by what I assume to be a life of luxury and poor parenting. Right, okay. What? Well, I don't have kids, but I turned out alright, didn't I? So, how hard could it be? I don't think I quite get what you're implying, Dave. Trust that I have some experience in non-conventional upbringing given the estate. Any other questions, before it's my turn? How far into the woods did you go? I found an old watermill, went inside while trying to avoid him when he was following me the first time. He tensed up but stayed quiet, waiting for a few moments. I took my chance to ask a question when he didn't respond with anything else. Why? Why what? You know what? Why do you care about the mill? It's a dangerous place with a lot of very old, very, shall we say, fickle machinery. Long since abandoned. Sure, but what does it matter if I found it or not? Is something there? No. But it does mark the furthest boundary of the mountain. If you went the other way downstream, you'd have likely hit a sheer cliff. Sure. What about the vial? What specifically about it? Was it one of yours? What was in it? With a sigh, Oswin adjusted his glasses and looked around the room. I'm not certain on the first. The second, however, I can confirm is what's on the label. Okay, but what is it? More importantly, why are you being vague? I'm not being vague. I'm answering your questions, am I not? You're like half answering them at best, and it's annoying. Fine. While the vial did say cryptococcal meningitis, the truth of the matter is that it was a more straight sample of Cryptococcus neoformans, which is... The relevant part for you is that it's a type of fungus. Among other things, it can cause, well, like the label says, a form of meningitis, which means it's one of yours. I'd run some tests, but it would appear that way. Same with the syringe? Correct. Was there anything else? Who took it, do you think? Pardon? Well, I figure that someone must have snuck in and taken it, right? Then used it out in the woods? It was the first time that I saw Oswin at a loss for words. He quickly shifted into thinking mode, as if I wasn't in the room anymore. Oswin? He ignored me, stroking his beard, shifting between bewilderment, frustration, anger, and finally ending on something that looked like sadness, if only for a moment. Sorry, something I just realized. Realized what? Just that whoever snuck in must have been very good at infiltration. It's a hard ask to get by Benson and myself in that area of the house undetected. And Roswell? What about Roswell? Well, he was out in the woods. It could have been him that took it, or maybe someone injected him with it. That's not possible, Dave. There was something about how he said that didn't sit right with me. Almost like he didn't believe the words that came out of his mouth. Why isn't it possible? Roswell's smart. He could have found a way in, or Jack could have jabbed him with the needle when he was sleeping, or... First of all, boy, injecting yourself with that sample would have had a very dire effect on your immune system. Something that you'd barely be able to recover from at all, let alone in a couple of days like Roswell did. Make no mistake, I'm talking an infection in the body that is quite literally fatal if left unchecked. And something no mere doctor could just cure overnight. Except for you. You have a lab downstairs and everything. You could just make a cure, right? Medicine is not magic. While I have quite a few potent things down there, as I'm sure you realize now, knowing what the sample was, curing something that potent is a lot harder than inflicting it. So where does that leave us? It means that your suspect on who stole it is as baseless as any guess I could make at this moment. As to who was injected, that is yet to be seen. Roswell doesn't show symptoms. He rightfully should after a potential week of being infected. In fact, none of your friends do. Leaving us with the only logical conclusion that no one currently in this house was injected, no? I grumbled, not satisfied. He was right, or at the very least. Everything he'd said made sense, but something in my gut was telling me that I'd forgotten something very important. Not only that, we had no motive as to why he'd sneak in and steal that of all things. Okay, fine. Any other questions, boy? Is there anything we can do about the phone reception? Alas, no. Granted, contacting the authorities might help. I feel like given a certain someone's involvement, they won't do us much good. So I'm still asserting that surviving the month is the best way forward. For you? For everyone. Unless you have any other ideas, I'm all ears. Grumbling, I tried to think of an alternative. I don't know. It's not the most ideal of circumstances, is it? No. It's just so frustrating. I looked to him and he seemed curious, staying quiet so I could continue. Why us? Why me? This is all just so... unfair? Right. Well, regrettably, life is just sometimes like that. You may choose to wallow in how this is unfair or do something about it. I'll tell you now I don't plan on dying anytime soon. And if you do, then I hope that me dying brings something of value for the rest of you to survive. There are a few things worth dying for, Dave. Don't go throwing your life away on some noble quest to be a hero. And yet you're hoping that there's something to gain from you dying? What happened to surviving? I don't plan on dying, nor do I want to die. I'm just stating fact that if it becomes absolutely necessary, I've already made my peace long before any of you arrived here. I see. I didn't know what else to say to that, fidgeting on the spot while Oswin continued to watch me. Felt like I hadn't gotten anywhere, but maybe it was just something that I had to think about some more. There were clues here, but I didn't know how to piece them together, or what they meant. Would it be best to ask Roswell for help, or Orlando? Maybe someone like Sal or Dean to get a different perspective. Hiya. I figured Tyson and Haas wouldn't be of much help outside trying to make me feel better, but that's not what I needed right now. Okay, well, I guess just one step at a time. Agreed. He rose from his spot and I followed suit. He opened the passage to the library and watched me carefully. Rest well, Dave. See you in the morning. One last thing before you go. Thanatos, right? What about him? I know he's, well, but can we trust him? Would it be worth asking him for his opinion on this? Why? He's someone else that, well, has some idea of what's going on, right? It's possible he may have some insights, but do you trust him as much as you trust anyone else here? What makes you say that? Well, he did play a part in distracting you long enough that I could sneak up behind you. I growled, baring my teeth. My hand went to the spot on my neck where he'd injected me, but he seemed to watch unfazed by how I was reacting. It'd be worth considering, but a talking rat is something, well, not many people would just accept at face value. I guess you're right, but he's not staying a secret forever. Of course not, but until I can be sure he's not going to incite panic, in the lab he'll stay. With that, he slowly closed the bookcase behind him and disappeared out of sight. I sighed, running my hand through my fur and wandering back over to the window. The night seemed calm and quiet, but I found myself scanning the shadows for any flash of white out of worry. What if he was just out there waiting for me again? What would he do to the others if they went outside as well? As I continued to watch the darkness, I could see shadows moving. Nothing wide in stark contrast to the dark, but there was something moving out there. My heart stopped for a second when I checked for wind and saw the trees swaying. Maybe it was just the wind. Maybe it was wildlife. Forcing myself to think that it wasn't the worst case scenario, I backed away from the window and headed to my room. Oh, fuck. Hang on. Hang on, I'm gonna crack my back real quick. Ah, my back! Fuck, fuck, fuck. Ow, ow, fuck. Fuck, ow. 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 Owie. Benson and Oswin marched into the foyer, looking around at the rest of us. It is, everyone alright? They look fine to me, Benson. Go find out what that was. Very well, sir. Wait! Why? What if it's, him, the rabbit? Calmly, Benson reached into his waistcoat and pulled out what seemed to be a small revolver, jet black with a slim design, different from the one that I saw in my vision of his death. Worry not, I'm not planning to go unharmed. But I'd suggest keeping together for the time being, just in case the worst happens. Without breaking stride, Benson walked right out the front door with his pistol in hand, closing it behind him. Are we just meant to wait here? I could make everyone some tea or something while we wait.
Is that smart? Like, to split off just like that?
As long as we stay together, we should be alright, or at the very least, not going off alone. Alright, well, Hoth, mind giving me a hand with the tea? Is there anything we should do while we wait? We don't need weapons, will we? I do not believe so. Alright, well, I guess all we can do is wait it out. Benson's going to be alright too, right? All things considered, I believe he'll be fine. Even without a gun, Benson is more than capable. For now, it's as you say, we can only wait until he returns. And so we did. The time ticked by while we waited for Benson to return. Some of us had tea to try and calm our nerves, but my eyes were trained on the front door. Listening for the sound of a gunshot or anything else that might hint that danger was nearby. Waiting for the very moment Benson would come through that door, worried that he might not. Bye-bye, road. Rip the road, truly the most tragic anime death, fucking right. It's at that point that I noticed Oswin was just gone, having moved on already to bed, I assumed. Run along now, Dave. It's alright. Yeah, alright. Good night, Benson. Good night. See you in the morning. We're going to leave off here tonight. It's early. Quite frankly, I don't know. My fucking back doesn't hurt, it's more annoying right now. Yeah, it was something. Anyways, stay safe, have a good night, and I will see you all tomorrow.